Hello, and welcome to Season 6 of Business Mentorship, Keeping It Real, introducing corporate leaders who have taken the leap to business owner and celebrate their great idea in our guest blog, found on shareyourstories.online. Our guest joins us from Orillia, Ontario. Vynny Hick is on stage as a motivational bilingual speaker, sharing life's experience as a retired Ontario Provincial Police Officer, reinventing himself while sharing life's stories. Let's find out why Vynny has decided to share not only the vulnerabilities, but resilience in life, taking those lessons to the stage, inspiring organizations to rethink their approach to leadership, recruitment, and resilience. It's my pleasure to welcome and introduce everyone to Vynny.
Hello.
It's such a pleasure to have you with me today, because I have to say, I know that you've spent a whole, career in policing, and I'm sure our viewing and listening audience are interested in one of your partners, Cash. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about Cash.
Absolutely. And that always comes up. I always said that as a dog handler, you're really the assistant to the dog. It's all about the dog. I just
Isn't
hold
that
the
the
leash.
truth? Dogs and babies, right? Everybody
Yes.
wants to know about dogs.
I often said that if Cash had learned how to drive, I would have been out of a position, because really, I think he needed me to drive the truck for him. I was a canine handler for 9 years with the Ontario Provincial Police, and my partner, Cash, was a black Belgian Malinois, which is a mix of Shepherd and Belgian Malinois. I called him Cash after Johnny Cash. He was jet black. And when I got him, I remember the instructor had said, Vynny, he's a little young, he's a little immature, but so are you, so you're going to be a good match. And he was right. We had an amazing bond. Over our 9 years together, we did over 1,100 calls.
Wow.
Cash has taken dozens of handguns off the street, hundreds of drug seizures. I think we were over 400 drug seizures, apprehended, I don't know how many criminals that we had to chase, and also found a lot of missing people. So he had a great career, and it was probably one of the highlights of my career because of the free therapy. No matter how bad the day was, no matter what the day held, how hard we worked, how far we walked, at the end of the day, you got to play ball with the dog. And there's just something so simple and natural about that. And he'd look at me and just kind of let go of the day and just really.
Great stress reliever.
Absolutely. He really taught me how to just shut it down. Because as a handler, you're kind of like the tip of the spear. It's go, go, go in high stress calls. But boy, he knew how to shut it down and how to get me to shut it down. So I have great memories. He passed a few years ago. He's left me with great memories, great anecdotes. I share one of my talks on the leadership lessons he taught me. And he visits me in my dreams. So it's really great memories.
Oh, that's nice. Now tell us, why did you decide when you retired to go to the stage? Because that's a huge transition to go from, what you were doing full time in your career for a number of years, and now transitioning to a completely different place.
It happened naturally. As a canine handler, you do a lot of public speaking at canine shows. Everybody wants to have a police canine handler to come and talk about police dogs. But when I left the role of a canine handler, I applied for a position as a recruiter. And the OPP was looking for a senior recruiter that was bilingual. So I'm a francophone. I speak better French than English. So I kind of fit the bill where I had some great stories because I had some good experience. Excuse me. And I wanted to go and share and influence the next generation of police officers. So that opened the door for me, excuse me, to be on stages across Canada, universities, colleges, to not just promote policing, but promote the Ontario Provincial Police specifically. And as I was doing that, I really enjoyed the connection of on stage, of connecting with an audience, seeing when you've got everyone hanging on to your story, you could hear a pin drop or you hear everyone laugh. That connection, I don't know how to describe that feeling, that there's no price for it. And I think that's the benefit or the residue for the speaker, is to get to experience that. And somebody had approached me and said, you should think about doing this after you retire. And I thought, well, you know what, maybe I should look into it. So I talked to a few people that I knew that were involved in the industry, and they suggested, how to get started. And that's kind of how the wheels got going. That's how I ended up speaking on the Blue Stage in Edmonton. And I mean, I only launched this back this April, and I'm starting to get gigs now to be booked here
Get
and there to
traction.
speak.
Yeah.
People love those stories. They love
Yeah.
police dog stories and
Mhm.
real stories. And I've always been a good storyteller. So that's kind of how it happened. And who knows where it'll go.
Oh, that's really amazing. Now, one of the things that I've heard you mention, and I absolutely love the phrase, so I'm going to ask you to explain it to us. What is contagious motivation?
Ah, that's a great piece of my Motivation Decoded talk. Contagious motivation, I call it that because it is contagious, like a cold or a flu. You catch it, but it'll run its course and it'll go away. And a great example of that is if you're getting together, let's say with your old school friends, university, college, high school, all the girls get together, girls' night, yay. We're going to go out for dinner. And as the night's going, we should do this more often. We deserve it, and little sparks are happening and everybody's motivated. Yeah, we should do this once a year is not enough. Let's do it every 6 months. Yeah, you know what? We should do a trip. We should all go to Mexico and there's motivation in the air. And if I could show up in that moment, everyone would sign on a dotted line. The energy's there.
Right.
Everyone's motivated. They're committed. And then you're going to go back home at the end of the night, all excited. You tell your spouse, hey, we're planning this thing. And say, oh, okay, yeah, but Billy's sick and you got to look after one of the kids. And the next day you have that big presentation at work that comes up. But you put a sticky on your computer to remind to look at resorts. And a few days go by, Debbie hasn't called you back. And next thing you know, that motivation kind of disappears because
Yeah.
real life is coming back in. Doesn't mean it wasn't real. No, absolutely it was real.
Right.
And the other example I always share is we had a family friend who never drank. When my dad would have a beer, this guy would just always turn it down. And I asked him once, I said, how come you never have a drink? And he said, I'm a slave to that bottle. I can't drink. A slave to it. That's how powerful it was in his life. Yet he remained sober for almost 35 years before he passed away. How'd he
Wow.
do that? He was a slave to that bottle. He did it with contagious motivation by going to a meeting once a week and being contaminated by other people to not let go. Sometimes it was daily. He'd call his sponsor and say, I need a dose. I'm on the edge. I think I might fall off. And he'd get injected with the motivation of somebody else to say, stay the course. You can do this. So
Right.
contagious motivation is so powerful. It's what support groups and networks are built on, and it can change someone's life. It can rewrite the next last or few chapters of someone's
The
life and
story.
really,
Yeah.
really change you.
So give us an indication. You've mentioned storytelling and you've talked about the fact that, you lots of people want to hear about cash and the canine experience. What's your favorite topic? Because you're on a stage and you're getting calls from people who are interested in hearing, especially when you use phrases like a new approach to leadership, new approach to recruitment, and what is resilience. So give us an indication as to what are one of your favorite topics to discuss.
It's funny you asked me that because I was asked that just the other day, and it's really hard to choose one favorite. Somebody pointed out to me, they said it's like there's three Vinnies. So the
Okay.
Vinny that talks about policing and leadership with a police dog, that was a very high point in my life. So it's a very energetic talk with some fun stories, and people just love that type of talk, especially if you're a dog lover. When I talk about recruitment and retention, that was my expertise for the last few years that I was in policing. Because when I
Yeah.
started reaching out to these colleges and universities, COVID had just happened. So everybody had to rewrite and rethink how they're going to reach out to people. How are we going to recruit people? Because the world has changed. People work from home now. Like that was unheard of. And so I got to develop some strategies that really proved to be very fruitful. So when I do that talk, I'm very excited. There's always some humor and funny stories from my own life intertwined in my talk. But I love that I'm talking about something that I've seen work. It's a solution that's a proven. It's like I have a great case study because I was the case study coming out
Right.
of COVID. I need to fix this for our organization. So that talk has a kind of a different edge to it. And then my motivation resilience talk, that's very much a personal talk where I share my life story and how does the young kid that leaves home at 15 and who's homeless, branded the loser kid, how does that person become a highly decorated police officer with one of the most prestigious police services in North America? What's the story? And people connect with that. That's something I would say people love to be entertained. So if you can entertain someone while you're sharing information, then people are invested. They want to know what happens next. They want to hear the end of the story. And that talk is more like the personal movie of my life. So all three have a very different shade to them, but I love them all. I have to
Right.
say, I really
Yeah.
do.
You like them all equally at this point, right?
Yes. I haven't developed a favorite yet.
Well, what's really interesting is that out of those stories is your personal resilience, because we all know that to have a 30-year career at anything takes perseverance and resilience. Perhaps you can give us an indication as to the personal skill that you felt that you used or that you acquired throughout that career. Because, I'm sure you mentioned, when they gave you the canine dog, you were young and the dog was young. You'll learn together.
Hmm.
Through those years, you learn things. So what do you think was one of the biggest takeaways from your experience?
I think the first thing about what makes somebody resilient, how do you build that or develop it? Part of it's our DNA. I think we're the product of our environment. And maybe because I left home young and developed a strong resilience at a young age, I was able to overcome certain things. I don't know how that part works, the DNA. Why is it that some officers get affected more than others? I know that I did have a very strong support network of friends, and I consider my friends, my family, people that I could sit down with and really just talk about my day. The fact that my wife is also a police officer, we were able to talk in our home about anything that happened at work. We
Right.
had dinner conversations that wouldn't resemble the typical dinner conversation at somebody else's
I'm
table.
sure that's true.
When we're coming back from a call where she was a negotiator and I was a canine handler or on the emergency response team at this hostage situation, our dinner talk might have been different, but that kind of support was very important. And also for me personally, fitness has always been an outlet for me where I find that I just refocus myself. Not only is it good for me physically, but mentally. I'm a big walker now. I walk every day and I don't listen to music or podcasts when I'm walking. I walk by a lake and I just get lost in my thoughts. And I think that recharges my batteries. Sometimes I think about events that are coming up. Other times I'm just thinking about other people, maybe sending positive thoughts towards them. My wife says it's some type of meditation.
Hmm.
Maybe it is. But
Hmm.
doing those things, taking that time to make sure you charge your own batteries and that you're looking after yourself is how it's worked for me. And I think that could help anybody.
For sure.
Is there a catch-all that will fix everyone's resilience problem? Probably not. But I think at least if you're taking those steps and implementing little techniques like that, you're certainly on the right track and on the way up with it.
Now, we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about the marketing, because you've got a very dynamic website. You have videos on your website that give you a little snippet, your speaker reel in English. It also gives you an indication of your speaker reel bilingual in French as well. Now, talk to me a little bit about how the marketing happened, because clearly your background is not in business and it's not in marketing. It's
No,
in
and
experience. So how did that work?
that's a great. See, you picked up on that. Yes, I cannot take any of the credit for that. So where I lucked out, or I say where things worked out for me, somebody pointed me in the right direction to find somebody. So thank you for bringing that up. It gives me the chance to give a kudos and a shout out to Geneviève Rochon and her team. They created the website. They are amazing to work with. It was a process. I was very intimate where we talked so much. I filled out questions. They really wanted to capture what's Vynny all about.
Right.
And I think that's a big step of it. People love the
Mhm.
website, and people that know me have said, wow, that really represents who you are. And that was their goal. They don't want to just give you a space on the internet. They want to give a home where people will
Right.
find who you really are. And as far as the other side, like social media, my niece, Erica, is my CAO. She does all of the social media stuff. I barely know how to get on there.
Right.
I'm learning, I'm getting better. I've always said if it barks, I'm good with it. If it beeps, not so much. But I've got great people that I'm connected with that look after the marketing side and the technical side. And I think a big step in that is just admitting, look, I'm not good at that. I'm not going to try to do a half-assed job by building it myself. Sometimes, actually, I would say it's always worth investing maybe a bit of capital in front to have something that's good, that's going to last you a long time, rather than doing something half-ass on your own to just kind of fit the bill. So support. I can't take any of that credit. There's just great people that I'm connected with that do that.
That's a really great point, because as entrepreneurs and as someone who's starting a business within that first 3 years, there's a lot to learn, right? For all of us. And
Absolutely.
and I love the fact that you've identified, I'm not really good at this, so I need to engage the services of somebody who is, because if you're going to be successful as a speaker, you need that dynamic website.
Absolutely. And I would recommend, there's so many people out there trying to sell stuff.
Right.
So I went with referrals. So people that had a website that I looked at and I was like, wow, that's really neat. Who did that for you? Because then I had proof that
Mhm.
Genevieve and her team were not just real, but they were good at what they did. I got to
Right.
see it. And I think it's a smart investment of your time to do a bit of research and to invest in a good product that will make the difference for your success down the road.
Yeah, I really love that. And that's a wonderful segue into your 3 words of advice, because one of the things that we do in our guest blog is we ask folks to share 3 words of advice, not only for your friends and colleagues, but the future generation of entrepreneurs. So I'd like you to wrap up our conversation today by telling us why let it go is important to you in your business.
Well, when you asked for 3 words of advice, I was like, geez, only 3, because I usually have more. A typical French person, why
Love
have
to
one
talk.
word when you can have 4? But let it go. And let it go because we carry a lot of stuff that we don't need to carry. I just did a little video that because of the seasonal change about, hey, this 4 times a year, every time we change seasons, it's a good time for you to look at the seasons of your life. Where are you at? Look at the season that just finished.
Mhm.
Where are you heading? What's the next season hold for you? Do you have a plan? And it'll always give you a good idea of where you are, where you're heading, where you've come from. And when you look at where you've come from, I think often if we don't look, we don't realize we're carrying stuff that we don't need to. Don't bring that stuff from the last season. Don't bring the negativity. On a personal level, something went wrong, somebody offended you, let it go. Don't bring that into the next season because that's just more weight you're carrying. In the business sense, same thing. You had some fails last semester, last block. Let it go. That didn't work, but don't bring the wins with you. Bring the positive with you. But the rest, just let it go. Because if not, really, it's just dead weight, slows you down. It prevents you from performing at your peak. Don't carry the stuff that you don't need to carry. So let it go just seemed like an easy term. There's a lot of stuff that people carry they don't need to. So whether it's personal or business, look back and let go of that stuff.
I have to say that could not be better advice, because I love the way that you've wrapped up the story and taking a look at the seasons and ensuring that you take the wins with you. Because
Mhm.
I think failure and the lack of success is how we learn and grow. And it's a part of life. So we're all going to have failures, right? We're all going to have those days where we think, oh, geez, like what the heck? This was the worst day ever.
I used to say in my recruiting presentation, everyone falls. Everyone. Everybody falls.
Yeah.
What's important is how you get
You
back
get up.
up and where do you go from there.
Right.
The most meaningful times in my life came from when I fell, but
Mhm.
I got up and I went, nothing good is coming from here. I need to refocus and head this way.
Right.
That speaks a lot about somebody's resilience, about their growth, about their development as a person. Looking
Absolutely.
back and saying, I need to let go of that. This is
Right.
where I'm heading.
Well, I'd love to thank you for spending some time with me today, because not only have you shared a little bit about your experience as an entrepreneur, but also some life lessons that I think we can all learn and take away from. So thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Pleasure being with you. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
To our viewing and listening audience, I'd like to thank you for joining us today for this edition of Keeping It Real, introducing you to the person behind the logo. If you'd like to connect with our guest, you'll find Vynny's contact information in the description portion below. I'm Trish Tonai, author, artist, and the founder and host for the series, and we invite you to share your business story. Just visit our website at shareyourstories.online and subscribe to our channel, Business Mentorship, Keeping It Real. Vynny and I would like to thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to meeting you next time when we share another great idea.